All right, let's talk about the New York Football Giants draft review time for them. So what you see next to me is first you're going to see where the player was picked, then the player's name, then the player's position, and finally where they were projected to go according to the consensus big board. So the first, and actually kind of am debating which one's the most important pick here, actually. You could kind of argue either one, but they decided to get a blue chip prospect in Abdul Carter. And this was talked about a lot of, do the Giants want to stick at number 3 here and select edge? Because you have Brian Burns, who's locked up for forever contract-wise, and he's a guy who can play every down. And then you have Kayvon Thibodeau, who I don't think it's been bad since he's joined the league. He was a 5th overall pick who hasn't lived up to that hype, especially in a draft class with Aiden Hutchinson, where there was a legitimate discussion of who should go one between those guys, and it ended up being neither of them. Trayvon Walker did, but that was a legit discussion, and you see what Hutchinson's done. Hasn't quite been that way for Thibodeau, but ultimately, I think they just said, if we don't draft Abdul Carter, we're drafting a worse player. And let's just draft the best player, and we'll figure it out. And as of right now, hey, if they all live up to their potential, having 3 awesome edge rushers is not the worst thing in the world. So I think it was a smart move by the Giants. Then the bold move. So they had an extra 3rd-round pick, which is part of what they used to trade up to get Jaxson Dart, the quarterback who I had a grade that was around this on. I had him higher than Shedeur Sanders on my big board, which that became a whole thing, the Shedeur Sanders stuff. But ultimately, I do like Jaxson Dart as a player. I do. And it's not just because my name is Jackson, I promise. I think there's some really good stuff here, and I thought he did a pretty good job when a play broke down of being able to make things still work. There is is he a one-read quarterback stuff? Is he a product of the system? And listen, a lot of times he was a one-read quarterback because the first read was open, right? That's just the reality of the situation. But you know what? I thought he did a pretty good job when that read wasn't open at still finding ways to make things happen. I don't think he was... Yes, he has the bad plays on tape. Who doesn't, right? But he has an NFL arm. He can read defense as well and ran that scheme very well. It's going to be a big transition into the NFL, but luckily he doesn't have to be good right away. So I like the move, and at least this way we're not, you have someone potentially that could be good. At pick 65, they draft the 51st ranked player, Darius Alexander, interior defensive lineman, who, again, his pass rush, his run defense metrics are through the roof. They're fantastic, albeit at Toledo, which, isn't nothing, but also isn't he's not in the SEC, but still very good metrics that way. The biggest issue isn't really that. It's the fact that, in his rookie season, he's going to be 25 years old. So you have that situation where he's just a bit of an older prospect. And a lot of times when guys are, maybe one-year wonders in your year that you turn 24, sometimes just because you're bigger and stronger because you're older than everybody else, those years matter at that point. But still, pick 65, he was good enough that I think it's still worth a shot. Then at pick 105, Cam Skattebo is someone who finally gets selected. We were wondering when he was going to be selected. And listen, I get both sides of this. The highlights are awesome. He's the most fun. He was the most fun watch when I was doing my evaluation. He was just a blast to watch. I don't know how well it's going to work in the NFL. So much of it, and I think he did other things besides just run over college players, but the best thing he did was run over college defenders, right? But can he run over NFL defenders? I don't know. I just don't know. And there's that complete question mark there. But you know what? At pick 105, okay, listen, either he'll end up just being a fine, whatever running back, or he could be awesome if things work out perfectly. So for pick 105, there's value there, and even his floor should still be an effective enough running back. So I like the pick. At pick 154, they decided to select a guy who was projected to go 65th. And to be honest, I was kind of shocked when I saw that Marcus Imbo, was supposed to go 65th. That felt like kind of a shock to me, because not to say that there aren't good traits. The guy moves very well. He's a really good athlete. But he just doesn't really have the strength to work at the NFL level, to the point where it was kind of being an issue in college. I thought that he wasn't a great pass protector in the college level. So I don't know if the plan is to bulk him up a little bit. That's what I would do. I would say, like, let's have him gain 10, 15 pounds and see if you can work that way. Ultimately, though, at pick 154, I kind of like it. So, again, if it was a pick 65 when he was projected to go, I don't know about that. But getting a player who was projected to go, a little bit, a good chunk earlier, to me, that is smart business. And usually you end up, you feel pretty good about that. Just kind of talking broadly about this draft, they did ultimately end up drafting everybody but one of their players was projected to go either right on or but before they ended up getting drafted. So that's usually pretty good when you end up on the right side of that. The next pick was not a massive steal here, but a little bit of a steal. Thomas Fedone II, the tight end out of Nebraska, who is someone who is, he looks the part, 6'6", 255, does have pretty good speed, has a lot of injuries, though, and quite frankly, just completely needs to develop. You hope that he could be a receiving tight end at some point, I think is what you would probably look at, but just due to injuries, he's just a complete developmental pick, which at 219, hey, start him at special teams, see if he can develop some more stuff after that. And finally, with pick 246, you do always wonder with these kind of picks, how much are, if it's a corner at pick in the 200s, I'm like, you might be a special teams guy. And he might be. I think that's probably what you'll at least look at and say, I think he can do, because he is someone who is a explosive player, fast player at the corner position. Only 190 pounds, so not the biggest player here. So I don't know if you trust him as a boundary corner, and he just quite frankly doesn't have the other aspects of football that you would probably want for him to be a boundary corner. So I'm going to guess special teams guy. Every now and then I'm wrong, but usually in this situation, that is ultimately what they end up being. So yeah, ultimately, again, there are some big swings here by the New York Giants, but they didn't have to give up like a future first or anything like this to trade up with Jaxson Dart. They give up some draft capital, but they still ultimately end up with 7 draft picks. So when you can trade up and still get at least 7 picks, you want at least 7. You don't want to go below 7. The average team actually gets 8 draft picks because of comp picks. That's the average number. You can go down 1. You don't really want to go down more than that. They stick with the 7, which is pretty good. And ultimately, again, it's like Abdul Carter could be a really good player. It could be, quite frankly, a franchise player. Jaxson Dart, does he have franchise quarterback potential? I think so. I think he's pretty good. I like him. Cam Skattebo could be a franchise running back. That is on the table. And Darius Alexander could be at least really good interior defensive lineman as well. So when you have 4 picks I really like, and then some interesting ones across the board, I'm going to say that I think this is a really strong draft by the Giants. A team that I haven't always been blown away by their decision-making over the years. I think did do a very good job here. Will it work out? Who can say? There is a chance that Jaxson Dart doesn't work out and everyone makes fun of that pick, but at least you got the blue chip guy at pick 3. You didn't reach on a quarterback at pick 3, which is probably the best thing they did. So yeah, as a whole, I like this draft. Giants fans, what do you think? Or just if you're just watching this video and you have thoughts, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.